All right. What is going on, everyone? Welcome to the Forge Your Creative Future podcast. I am your host, Rob Federick. And, dude, it's good to have you on here, man. Introduce yourself. What's up?
Hello, Rob Federick. Good to see you. Introduce myself. My name is Andy, and I am wearing no pants.
You're what?
I,
Same.
I
I'm
no,
not wearing any pants.
I've got gym shorts. I put on a nice button down for you, Rob. It's
Love it.
nice little button down. But I didn't. I just kept my gym shorts on. So sorry.
No.
My name is Andy.
Yeah.
I thank you for inviting me into your show. I am a filmmaker, writer, director, editor, all the things. I think you have to be all the things. They should come up with a new word, a new title for what we do. I'm a storyteller. Since I was a kid, I've been making movies and creating worlds and trying to escape and sharing those worlds with people. My movies have changed so much throughout the years, but I'll never stop doing what I love to do.
So, dude, it's really interesting that you say like you were a filmmaker since you were like a kid and that you build worlds, because that's sort of how I introduce myself to people as well. When was the start for you, man? Like when did you know you had that urge to be a filmmaker and you couldn't shut it off?
Well, I always wanted to be a novelist when I was a child. It started
Really?
at its bones. Yeah.
A
If you go
novelist when
back
you were a child?
I wanted to be a novelist. I wore tweed blazers. Yes. No, I mean,
So
yeah.
great, dude.
I wanted to be a writer as far back as I can remember, because to me that's the way I had control of bringing stories to life was through words, and in this case, literally by hand. I would write stories on a piece of paper until I learned how to use a computer. But the older I got, the more I realized how ultimately unfulfilling it was to write a novel or a short story. Um, Obviously, it's fulfilling. It fuels that urge, but it's not enough, because to me as a child, I was always very visual. I needed to go there. That's why Disney World was always a part of my life, because I could go and live in these worlds. Pure escapism. So writing was not enough to satisfy this fire in me. So I started to make the pivot towards picking up that crappy DV camera and shooting these stories and bringing them to life. And I played all the characters. It was just me and my brother Carlos. He would be my DP. He would film, and I would put on wigs and play all the roles, just like Shakespeare. You know, I did a lot of love scenes, so a lot of this action.
Dude, it's
classic trick.
I think we're like roughly the same age, but it's cool to I feel like, yeah, it's like that same I remember when I was a kid, I was friends with a kid who was like really a big fan of the Alien franchise. That's sort of how I came to understand, like learn about Alien and aliens. And what we used to do is make he really did it, and then I started copying him. He used to make little books out of like notebook paper, like, or like printer paper, and like illustrate and tell stories based in that world, and then he would staple them together and make little books. And I thought that was like the coolest thing. So you just triggered a memory in me that I had completely forgotten about, that I was like, oh, I guess that's sort of how I started telling stories before I knew I could pick up a camera as well. So what age did you actually look through that thing and go, fuck, the game's over. Like I can't look back now.
I think it was when I was around 9 years old. Movies started playing an influence on my life, and at this point I had already seen the movie that changed so many people's lives, just Jurassic Park. Our generation, at least. That movie inspired a whole generation of filmmakers that wanted to create dinosaurs, and pure escapism at its finest form. I think I was around 9 years old as he goes to pull his.
No,
Jurassic
I'm
Park
listening.
VHS.
I'm listening. I want to make sure. I got a little surprise for you here, man. So, but no, dude.
VHS. Yeah.
I mean,
where were we going? I went off on a tangent.
Yeah, no, it's just, I got my nice little Jurassic Park limited editions here.
Very nice.
And, dude, I mean, fuck, man, I know we have talked, and, we've been friends for a while. I had no idea that Jurassic Park was the movie that, because that's one of the movies that inspired me. We have a very similar story, dude. Are we brothers from another? Are we the same? Actually,
Bro, hermano, is that you?
hermano?
I've been looking for you. Hermano, I've been looking for you.
You know what? I want to talk about something that you mentioned a long time ago when we first started becoming friends. Where like, because I want to get more into your story, obviously, of like how you became a filmmaker. But one of the things that I found fascinating that you once told me, it sort of really triggered a brain response in me, was ideas aren't ours. And that, you know, inspiration is sort of like floating in the universe, and it sort of comes to us. Like we channel it, we draw it to ourselves. And I thought that was such an interesting concept of how you looked at that, because it removes the ego of things.
Oh yeah.
And I thought that was really beautiful and inspiring. I wanted to kind of get more about that from you, because I think it's important to talk about that kind of thing.
I love this conversation. I'm so glad you brought it up. This is the kind of stuff I love to talk about and think about. Yeah, I think every idea that comes out of our brain is a frequency. It's a very unique vibration that doesn't belong to us. We're all these radio antennas that are picking up frequencies. Some of those come in the form of music, you know, scripts, poetry, whatever the hell it is. But I don't think they come out of us. But they come from the place that we all come from. If you want to get really deep and woo-woo, I think music, stories, any form of art comes from that place where we all came from. So you need to be open so you could listen to those frequencies and they could land in your brain. And if you're not listening, that idea will just go find another vessel and come to life elsewhere. Or you may not have the means to bring that vibration to life because of money and financing and connections. So I think that vibration will go to another vessel that is ready. And that's why you may find that some of your movie ideas or story ideas, someone else made them. That's happened to me so many times, but with plots that are so specific.
Really?
There's this one movie that came out. Jeff Nichols directed it, Midnight Special. It had the same exact plot as the film that I was having trouble financing, and it had the same ending. I'm talking like a twist ending that's very unusual and unique. This director, Jeff Nichols, wrote the same batshit ending. So I truly believe in that instance. And it was around the same time. If you look at the timeline, I really think that vibration that I was picking up on, someone else, a successful Hollywood A-list director, was able to make when I couldn't.
Yeah.
Or it's all a coincidence and yada, yada. But that's what I like to believe. And it does remove the ego out of it, because, you know, we're just vessels, we're radio antennas that are meant to bring these ideas to life. They're not yours per se. Don't get so attached to them. So remove yourself a little bit from them.
Oh no, I've lost focus on my camera. This tends to happen.
Oh no,
a live show here, but like hopefully I can reset it. The glasses are staying on, by the way. I'm feeling inspired.
I think the out of focus is a choice, and it looks like a blurry album cover. So just leave it. Embrace it.
Why not? I mean, it'll sharpen back up. This camera, I'm gonna have to figure that out. But yeah, man, it's an interesting perspective, because as a filmmaker, especially as a director, like, I personally care a lot about, this is going to drive me crazy. I'm going to try one more time to sharpen this thing up. It just needs to focus on me. It's not working. Fuck it. All right, whatever. It's staying as a grungy, moody album cover with my limited edition gooders. Yeah, it's as a director, like, you can't help but get attached to when it's like, you know, when you're making a movie, it's like your baby, your creative baby. And I think it's important that, like, I feel like the best creative work does come when you sort of detach yourself. It's like that Buddhist principle, right? Like you detach yourself, you have less ownership over it. Like you make it sort of soar. But I don't know if I can let go of that sort of ideology yet. But what I do find interesting is that I started opening my mind to thinking about when you were talking about creativity and sort of how we're antennas that channel it. And I feel like I do think that there is some very grounded truth in that yeah, like how do you come up with the inspiration? Yeah, you might have seen something, it triggers something emotionally, and all of a sudden this idea builds, but I think it sort of fills you, and then you shape it into something that, hey, there we go. And then you shape
Yeah.
it into something that is yours. And I think that that's super cool. How do you view yourself as a director? Like, what is your, if you were going to describe yourself with like, this is the type of director that I am, or this is what I believe myself to be, what would that be like?
I think it's really important that you're having a good time making your movie, because this is the funnest job in the world, to be able to
100%.
play with your friends and actors and departments and lighting. It's the greatest art form in the world, in my opinion, because it combines every art form together to create a thing that all of these artisans from different walks of life and industries are creating. So I'm going off on a tangent.
No,
That's
no,
my
you're not.
AD, that's
It's
my ADHD brain. But back to be more focused, I want to be the kind of director where I'm having fun at all times, and people around me are having fun, and we could all feed off of each other's positivity and excitement and play, and remind ourselves that, we're all. It's important to be in touch with your inner child, especially when you're making movies. Um, so I like running a fun set with good people and making sure that the people that we select all mesh well and positive vibes. But I also would like to be the kind of director that is known for just being truthful and delivering, allowing a performer to deliver a truthful performance, and that's always true to me and my voice. Every frame, every piece of dialogue, every musical note should be true, uh, and help change people in some way, even if it's just changing them by entertaining the shit out of them or scaring them, making them laugh. Uh, it is the business of making people feel. What an incredible gift it is.
I love it.
Best job ever.
It's
Yeah.
strange. I feel like this is why we get along so well, partially from the fact that we're both like of Hispanic descent, but it's strange how many similarities we have, because I've always told people that, where I was like, I was a kid, I was very imaginative, I loved art, I loved drawing, but I knew I wanted to be a filmmaker when I realized that you can put all those mediums into one art form and then express something. And that's really cool. I'm gonna shift gears real quick for a second, but like, because I recently made a video about sort of my thoughts on AI and
Mm-hmm.
Sora and all of this thing. And I guess the main point for me there was the fact that AI takes sort of the human experience out of it. And that's sort of my sentiment. I'm not going to get too deep dive into that, but like, you're talking about creating something that is going to trigger a human response in someone, whether it's fear, whether it's laughter, but you like to touch somebody. What do you think about the future of AI and filmmaking, and sort of where you stand at right now, and how do you see it?
My God, what a loaded question. But yeah, I'm glad you brought it up. I've been,
We're going deep, Andy.
I've
We're
been,
going deep.
no, this is great. These are great conversations. And I just saw The Creator,
Oh yeah.
which, so man, my thought on AI is that it's going to be controversial. You're probably not going to like it. But the more I think about it, the more I sadly think that, don't you think that AI is just a continuation of human evolution, even though it's not human?
Mm-hmm.
It seems like it's like the natural course of evolution, because AI is our creation. We created it. We gave birth to this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so, in a way, AI is an extension of humanity. And I want to get dark. I really do believe there's going to be a point where AI will take over and will carry on in our image their their fathers, their ancestors. Uh,
It's interesting. Oh, you should
so,
write.
so
I feel like
dark.
you should write a. I feel like you should write a movie about this, and
And
tell it.
and then people, it's a very controversial opinion. People are going to say, no, because they're not humans. It's not humanity. But
I
in a weird way, it's like, yeah,
yeah.
what if it is? It's funny. I saw an AI art that inspired this. Those, like, those AI arts that are videos that are sort of shape shifting.
Yeah. It's like sort of to create motion, right? But like they
Yeah,
sort of morph and change,
right.
and yeah. I know what
And
you're talking
one
about.
of them showed what I'm talking about. It showed human evolution, apes, Neanderthals, it even showed dinosaurs to a full-fledged human being. And then it showed the introduction of the iPhone and how they all started to look down and their spines changed. And then we got cyborg parts. And
Wow.
then before you know it, at the end of this video, human beings are robots. Uh, it's all the same. It's like we are becoming robot, especially now with Neuralink that Elon Musk saying that
Yeah.
should not be happening.
I
And
I just fear that you're
that is
gonna
the
get
introduction.
spammed on that shit. You know, like
Yeah.
Neuralink's gonna spam like if you know how like, you get like pop-ups back in the day and they would like imagine that in your brain.
Oh my God. Good Lord. But that is the beginning of the end. That is the beginning of humans becoming the AI, where we are going to be the robots with, parts
Isn't that
and chips.
fascinating though? Like the thing with me though is
I
like
mean,
I'm not in total disagreement. I mean like there is a study that says sort of like humans sort of hit the peak of their evolution, right? Like yeah, like there are other things we
mm-hmm.
can develop certain senses like you could continue to evolve, but it's almost like we've sort of hit the level of where we're going to go and then a lot of
Yeah.
experts argue that like sort of AI and cybernetics is really going to be humanity is going to cease to be human in the sense that we know it. It's going to be
Right.
something else. And
Yes.
and while I do embrace that, by the way, you're not Rose and Lawless. I got to update this.
Is
Uh,
that what it says?
I think
That's
so, but
funny.
we're gonna update it right now. No, but like, well, I do see that that's sort of where humanity is headed, and it's gonna go, and I think it really is
Yeah.
gonna go. I sort of strangely, I don't know. I'm on the fence of how I feel about AI, especially with filmmaking, because I am so passionate about the craft and
Mm.
the human experience and the collaboration and the skill and learning and growing. I'm a person that likes to grow and develop. And then I feel like it's like once a machine takes over, it's sort of like you really surrender that part of yourself to something that really isn't you anymore. It's something that's creating something
Yes.
for you. So I'm curious, just like how I
Yeah.
know there's a lot of fear. I actually come from a place of more like, damn, dude, I don't want this to take over something that I cherish so much. But how do you feel about that?
I think there will always be that uncanny valley sense of anything that a robot makes visually, uh, in terms of like making people feel and uh, acting. There will always be a little bit of awkwardness, at least for now, right?
Right.
But eventually, it will get to a point where I think it will be unrecognizable. Um, I'm just trying to live long enough to not see that happen. I'm just trying to like make as much as I can before that before they come and take our jobs. Uh,
Yeah.
but like I'm cynical. Like I have no hope. I think this will ultimately take over, and there will be streaming platforms that are just AI, and they feed you shows that it
Yeah.
knows that you like. It's going to
Wow.
read your algorithm, and it's going to create TV shows with actors that aren't real.
Wow.
And there people won't be making movies anymore. Like, have you seen the movie Babylon?
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like,
I know, I know
yeah,
exactly. I
yeah,
think I know exactly what you're pointing to, and
yeah,
and that's the
yeah.
thought that pops into my brain. But go
Hmm.
share it with everybody.
Yeah, like the end of Babylon. It's not really a spoiler. It's
No,
just a montage of
it's
there's a
okay if you spoil
montage
it.
of film and how film has evolved. I think to add to the end of that montage will be AI generated movies being made. No studio. It's just all made. It's all done on a server and fed to audiences, and we will be addicted to it, and we will, and yeah, then it's over. Then it's all over.
You know what? When you mentioned Babylon too, like I actually didn't think you were going to reference that. I was actually more. I relate more, and I don't want to relate to it, but I relate more to Brad Pitt's character in that movie, where not
Oh
necessarily
yeah.
the debauchery before, but I'm going to spoil
Yeah.
the movie because it's not. I didn't think it was a great movie. It's got great things in it, but I. It's not that I hated it either, but Brad Pitt ends up killing himself because he's a guy. He's an actor from the silent era, and
Spoiler alert.
I know. I said I was going to spoil it, and and the thing about it is for me that like it's because he can't find his place in the world of sound, and that transition, it wasn't even that he wasn't willing to try it. He was willing to try it, but he just wasn't adapt. Something about it didn't click with the audiences and how they received it, and so he just called it quits, which is unfortunate. But that's the part that sort of speaks to me, where I'm scared, where I'm like, am I going to be that Brad Pitt? I'm not going to kill myself, but like, am I going to be that guy that's just going to have a hard time surrendering to this transition, because I believe so much in the craft of filmmaking and love it, that like if AI does take over, it's like sort of like, well, what's next for me? Because I don't know that I could do anything else. I love filmmaking so much.
I know that's such a good metaphor though, but I really think that we will all just end up like Brad Pitts if we don't like embrace the change and find a way to use it. Because I fear that it's important to embrace change, because you don't want to be that dinosaur that will eventually, like, another good example is ILM when they transitioned into CGI.
Mm-hmm.
All of the craftsmen, the Phil Tippett's, the people that built stuff with their hands, and painters.
Yeah.
A lot of them were very bitter about CGI. Like, this is the end of our jobs. And they didn't work again. But the people that decided to embrace the future kept working and found ways to create art using this assistance, this tech.
Yeah.
So I believe that AI maybe can be pure if you learn how to harness it properly and use the right tool sets. You could create some really cool shit. Some really art. I mean, follow these AI art Instagrams, the things that are being made, not just through prompts. It's not lazy AI making. So like, oh, that person just wrote a prompt. These people are spending a lot of time churning out. They write a prompt, something comes out, they put it in Photoshop, they do something to it here, and then they bring it into After Effects, and then they put layers of others on top, and they create these beautiful works of art that were made with the assistance of AI, yes. But that doesn't mean it's not art. You're still going through the craftsmanship process and using your brain, and you're going to another kind of canvas.
Yeah. But is it harnessable though? Because like now it's an assistant, but when it learns, like, everybody talks about AI becoming self-aware and taking over the I don't think that's going to happen. What I think is going to happen is that it's going to take over in a different way, and it's going to take over in the sense of like, hey, we got you. You don't need to do this anymore. And then we become the Wall-E humans, But it's like when you said like if we embrace it and learn how to harness it, but like, is it harnessable? And I point back to Jurassic Park and Ian Malcolm's scene about like, like, yeah, I mean, like I we don't have to go into this super deep, but I want to move on from AI after this, but yeah, do you think it's harnessable?
No, yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, right now, all those examples that I laid out are like, right now you can still make art, and it could be truly art, but a little while from now, soon, it's going to be to that point where it's completely taken over. So that's why I'm just trying to enjoy it now while it's a little bit more pure, where you can actually create things before it completely takes over. Because I feel like every other month these tool sets change and they get better, and I have to relearn them. So I think I've sort of given up on AI. I'm taking a little break. I have to take a break. From it.
Yeah. So I mean, look, we talk about AI and the human experience and touching people, and you're saying that like you want to influence with it. You just made a movie, and it's a fantastic one that is very personal in many ways, and speaks to a very sort of misunderstood human condition.
Yeah. Let's pivot away from the fucking robots and let's talk about the real stuff.
The real stuff, the good shit. Yeah.
I made a film. It's called Why Am I Like This? It's about a woman who has severe ADHD, but she doesn't know it yet. And it follows her through what's probably the most chaotic day of her life. and she comes to terms with what she has, that she finds out in the end. And as a result, it triggers a childhood memory that changes her life forever, all under the course of a few hours in a chaotic day in Burbank. That's my film, and it's very much semi autobiographical. It's funny because throughout the course of making it, I pursued an ADHD diagnosis because I've always felt in my bones that I've had it.
Yeah.
And I am. Would you look at that?
Wow.
Which made the making of this movie so much more personal. But really, I need to mention the lead of the film, Jenny Lorenzo. This is really her story. She suffers from severe ADHD, and we found each other, I think, as a result. You know, people in the neurodivergent communities tend to find each other.
Yeah.
And it's always through art, I think. It's always the nerds. And we've known each other since college. We became friends there. We've always been creating together. She was diagnosed late in life as well, in her 30s. And it validated so much for her. It made her realize, I'm not an idiot. I'm not crazy. I'm just totally human. I just don't think the same way other people do. My brain chemistry is different.
Yeah.
So when she started telling me all these things, it started sparking all these things in my brain. And I'm like, holy shit, do I have ADHD? I probably do. We started going over all the traits. There's an iceberg.
Yeah.
There's an iceberg chart that shows you all of the traits. And I checked all the boxes.
Where did you do this? Did you because after working, we'll get into this a little later, but I had the privilege of kind of contributing a little bit to your film, but it made me, I've always sort of suspected it, but I never really embraced it. Jen has always told me that she believes I have it. And then I worked on your movie, and then I was like, oh, I'm 99.9% sure that I have severe ADHD, and I should probably get a screening for it. So how did you go about it? How did you find out?
I'm 99% sure you have it too. You do, yeah. You do. I can tell.
Okay, yeah.
There's a lot, and I think that's the reason why we get along. And
great.
That it's, but maybe not. You know, people with ADHD share a lot of similar traits to people that don't have it. But how did I go about pursuing that? Well, it's hard finding a psychiatrist. It really is. It's hard finding a therapist.
Yeah.
But after a long search, I finally found a psychiatrist, and it was an assessment. It took like 30 minutes. It was a series of questions, and I passed the test.
Wow.
Or I failed the test, you know?
No, you passed it. You discovered who you are. Yeah. You passed it. I love that.
Yeah. And that changed things for this movie. This was in pre-production for Why Am I Like This when I discovered this. So went back into the script, and I beefed it up, and now I'm looking at it from a totally different lens. And it touches upon social awkwardness, anger issues, things that trigger you, very specific things that trigger you. And it's the day in the life of a person with ADHD, truly. It's an anxious movie. It might give you an anxiety attack. There is an anxiety attack scene. But I think it's important to not shy away from those things, to go all in. I purposefully made an uncomfortable film. But to every uncomfortable moment, to every anxious scene, there's always a joke. There's always a punchline. There's always a funny moment to lighten the darkness. It is a dark comedy all in. And the ratio and the format that I always follow when it comes to dramedies is whenever something sad is happening and you feel that it's being felt, just completely end it immediately with a funny joke. Even if it means cutting the score abruptly, something like that. Because that's what life is like. Life is hilarious.
Yeah.
And life is also very tragic. And I think drama and comedy go hand in hand. That's why the Shakespeare stories are the best, because he understood that.
Yeah, it's like two sides of the same coin. Is this the most personal film you've ever done? Because I know you've made a couple of different films, and they seem to really tap into deep experiences. Like, remind me the name of the ghost camera one.
The Unveil.
The Unveil, yeah. I felt like that one had like very sort of like deep personal like experiences in there as well, because it deals with the aspect of loss and sort of, again, human interaction.
That movie wasn't personal at all.
Really?
It wasn't.
Really?
Yeah, it was just, I think ghosts are cool. I love ghosts. I love a good ghost story.
Yeah.
That movie it's amazing. That movie wasn't personal at all. But I don't feel like every movie needs to be personal. Sometimes a story just needs to be told because you find it entertaining or scary or funny.
Yeah.
So naturally you want to share that, you want to make people laugh and make people scared.
Yeah.
And The Unveiled was a sci-fi story about ghosts that I thought was fucking cool when it landed in my head. So I wanted to make it. But why am I like, this is not like that? The character of Lenny, while she is the lead, Jenny.
Yeah.
It's about like, even the name Lenny, Jenny.
Yeah.
Lenny is very much me as well.
Right.
It is a marriage of Jenny's qualities. I know her well. She's a good friend. And my qualities fused together. Lenny is us.
Wow.
There's versions of her in there that's me. Some of those moments are personal, little things. The manic, the twitching, little things like that.
Yeah.
The biting of the cheek to a point where she's bleeding. The whole movie, there's blood on her face.
Yeah.
Because she's biting the inside of her cheek. That's me.
Really?
I'm doing it right now. Just a lot of weird compulsions. Like I pull my beard hairs, and I'm always moving. I always need to be moving.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Little things like that. So it was very personal. So you bet the passion was injected into every frame, and editing this was so fun. Because to be able to see yourself on the screen as a woman being represented so well. And to also see Jenny bringing her story to life.
Yeah.
It just made me so happy to see her face on the screen. This friend of mine who is crushing it and giving me so much to work with. In fact, giving me too much to work with, to where now there's too much good footage and there's too many good takes. And how the hell am I going to choose between these two shots?
Yeah.
And then you have to start killing some darlings.
Yeah. I wanted to, it's cool because I mean, I remember when you first sent me the cut to sort of give you like my opinion on it, and you were telling me the same thing. You're like, I don't know how to cut my darlings out of this.
Yeah, it was tough.
But I remember, being part of it. I was there for like, a day and a half shooting with you guys. I read the story, and what struck me about the movie, at least when I first watched it, was that it wasn't being in, like, watching you work and stuff like that was really cool, and I sort of got an idea of where you were going with the tone of the movie, but it didn't really hit me until I actually watched it, how powerful it actually was. I thought it was going to be more like a silly sort of like fun comedy, and it has that aspect, but Jen was next, she was crying. Like she felt so seen by it, and there was this level of like profound emotion that I was like, wow, like you got me in like 20 minutes, 18 minutes. I forget what the running time was, but I was like, damn, dude, like you really took it there. And I felt that you really injected yourself into it. Even on set, I could see how much fun you were having, how poised you were. Like it felt like you were like, this is the right movie I'm making right now.
Yeah, man, you nailed it. Yeah, it's like something happens to you when it's really working. And I felt it happen to me that day that you were there. It's almost like you're channeling something. And then you did a video and you sent it to me of me like in the zone. And it's almost as if I didn't recognize myself.
Interesting.
Like, do I speak that way normally? Am I usually that alert and on it with so much vocal clarity? It's like, you're just we view ourselves as like, I don't know, this fucking guy.
Yeah, this fucking guy.
But it's almost like something takes over you where you are on your game because you're having so much fun and you're doing what you're meant to do. There's no greater feeling than knowing, oh, this is why I am here on Earth, is to do this
Mm-hmm.
and to tell stories. Uh, so, what was your question?
No,
What was your
it was more, I guess,
what?
like an admiration of just like how like you dive, your directing style is really interesting to me because like directors always have sort of their own way of approaching things, but I am usually very focused, like, I like you, I like to bring a lot of great energy on set. I want to have
Yeah.
people be happy. I like to bring joy because, like you, I feel the same thing. We're privileged to do this. This is the best job in the world. We should be milking the experience for everything that it is. But
Mm-hmm.
one thing that I
Mm-hmm.
noticed about you too, and there was a lot of moving parts in your movie. You're dealing with like very personal like subject matter, and
Yeah.
you seemed to be in a state of complete and utter peace and bliss. Like you were very poised, and it was like nothing was stressing you out. You were always like things would come up and you would roll with the punches, but at the end of the spectrum you're telling this very personal story with the fact that you and your lead both have ADHD, but somehow you were both so laser focused. Like
Yeah.
how did you approach this thing, man? Because that's amazing.
Well, yeah, well, what's amazing is that how we were able to do it is by using our ADHD as a superpower, which
Wow.
is the whole point of the movie. That's what the character does at the end. She's like, she hones in on her superpower, which is creating art. So when you have ADHD, ADD, when you're in the neurodivergent community,
Mm-hmm.
when you can do what you're good at, you are on cloud nine and you're calm. I mean, I wasn't always this way. I think a lot of it is experience. Like, a lot of it is experience. Like I've gotten to a point where like I know what I'm doing and I surround myself around the right crew, a good producer. Sean, you know him, he was there.
Oh,
So if you have a
fantastic.
good
Yeah.
producer, he's a good first AD as well. So I could lean on him. Great PAs. We have the support. We have a gaffer. We have a key grip. We have everything we need. There's no reason to be stressed anymore. Uh, I used to be a nervous wreck and I would hide it well. But now I worry less. The older I get, the more experience I have.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and that's why I was so Jedi calm. It's because that day we had planned it so well. And when you make a movie, you're thinking about it for months beforehand.
Yeah.
Every frame, every shot is in your brain. You can't sleep before. So finally, when you get there, you've done all the worrying already. Like, let's go. Let's make this thing.
Yeah.
You know exactly what you need to do. Okay, we're gonna get this shot. We get that shot.
Yeah.
And then you just go on autopilot and you're floating, and it's a dream come true.
That's so cool, man. I mean, it's awesome. Like I always believe in like, I'm very supportive of my friends, and especially like when we have like interests, like it's cool to see you do your thing and kick ass at it. It inspires me as a filmmaker as well to be like, dude, like, you know, it's crazy how much, because I have a good 20 years of experience in this field, and I always feel like I'm always learning, and observing other people do their thing. It's just kind of like, wow, I never really looked at that
Yeah,
approach like that. Or you know what, like I know, because I'm like I said, I'm pretty sure I have ADHD. I'm always like, I don't bite my cheek, but like my leg is like always shaking like this, like I'm always moving it up and down. And I tend to find myself on set moving a mile a minute very
mhm.
quickly, and sometimes I have to remind myself to slow down. And I saw you really embrace that aspect of it, which is why I was like, I got to really take
Yeah,
this in and slow down.
yeah. A lot of it is like meditation the morning of, where
Really?
I have to remind myself, remember to have fun today, because if you're not having fun, then what's the point? Um, but look, shit happens
Of
sometimes.
course.
Like sometimes things usually go wrong. Um, but it's a matter of how you handle when something goes wrong. Handling it well. Sometimes like you got to be thinking a mile a minute. That's
Yeah.
good that you do that. You should be doing that, but try to find a balance of always think ahead, but also relax.
Yeah.
Don't freak out too much. Also relax and look around at how fucking cool everything is.
Yeah.
Look how great the lights are. Look at this. It's a balance.
Are you
But if you have, If you have a good AD, let them worry, you know?
Oh yeah. Yeah. And you had like the best right there. Are you happiest when you're on set?
Yes. Yeah, I've never been happier.
That's like your Zen place.
Yeah. Like me making my feature, which was like hell. Talk about everything going wrong.
Oh
It was
God.
like the two most hellish weeks of my life. 2 weeks making a feature.
Bro, why
Those
are we so similar? This is so fucking scary how fucking similar our story is. It's nuts.
But what I was gonna say was I was the happiest time of my life. Like as hellish as it was, I was
Really?
pure bliss. Yeah.
Even
So
even in the hell of the stress of the 2 weeks,
yeah,
you were this is the happiest you've ever been.
yeah, because it hurts so good even when it hurts, you know. Because that like when things are going wrong, you're making a movie, you're making your feature. How exciting! But I learned how to deal with a problem.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's breath, it's breathing, because there was a moment there that I like to tell this story where we were running late and we weren't going to get this scene. We needed this scene, and our actor got frustrated and left.
Mm-hmm.
We lost our actor, and for a moment there, my brain hit a wall. I couldn't think.
Okay.
I didn't know what we needed to do. The DP, she was like, Andy, what are we doing next? Are we shooting against this wall? Are we shooting against that wall? Is it day? Is it night? What's going on? Because it was time and we had to do day for night, night for day. My brain hit a wall. I didn't know what time it was in the script. And I turned to the DP and I said, Madeline, I'm going to take a step outside. Can you handle like the crew? And we had a trust thing going. She was like, yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
Go have your moment. She talked to the crew. I went outside and just like a computer rebooting, just breathe, find your breath, find it. Cause you're like,
Yeah.
find your breath. You know, it's like the little kid in Signs who's dying, you know?
Yeah.
And they get, you know, and Mel Gibson's bringing him back to life. Kieran Culkin, Rory Culkin. And I got my breath back. And then slowly I figured out, okay, I know what we have to do. It's nighttime in this scene. We need the actor here, yada, 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 block shooting. It comes back to you. And I walked back in and I was like, all right, calling the shots. And I just needed a moment.
Yeah.
And that will happen. Some people don't have the emotional capacity to breathe. Some people shout, they're mean, they're assholes, and
Yeah.
And they smoke cigarettes.
It's smoke cigarettes. No, it's awesome. Yeah, I think that's the thing though. It's like if you're reminded that you love this and this is really your happy place, like there should never be a moment of like there should be stress, but there should never be a moment of dislike. You know, like this shouldn't like if you feel like this is constantly stressing you out that this isn't for you. I mean, like like Ridley Scott says, no, you have to have endurance.
Don't fucking do it.
Don't do it.
You're not enjoying it. What's the point? It's too much hell. It's too painful if you don't enjoy it.
Exactly. And there's so much rejection and hardship associated with it. If you don't love it to the core of just doing it, you're never going to find the happiness of it.
You have to be a little crazy. You have to be like a priest to sacrifice, being able to be with a woman. You have to have it's like a vocation. You have to go all in. You have to make sacrifices to a normal life.
Yeah.
You have to recognize that you are going to be rejected constantly for a very long time, and you need to know how to handle rejection and get a thick skin. It's a vocation. You need to be crazy. You need to be like a priest, like a Jesuit.
Yeah, and I think that's like one of the things about the podcast is really I want to I've said it a couple of times before, but it's all about wanting to inspire other people that maybe have a dream of filmmaking, or they want to get a movie off the ground, or even just a short film or a YouTube video that they want to make, and they don't really know how to approach going about it, or there's a fear associated with it, and sort of bringing people's experiences that can sort of show, hey, look, this is how we did it and this is how we go about it. But yeah. I think that there's a level of courage that needs to go associated with anything that you do creatively, especially in filmmaking, especially if you want to be a director, because that's probably arguably the hardest part of the filmmaking world. I would say writing is probably second because it's a lot of frustration, but you gotta, there's a lot flowing in your head when you're directing, and you have to be the one calling the shots. How did you go about finding your sort of voice as a director in your process of, this is how I tell my stories, this is how I collaborate, this is how I flow, but at the same time, this is how I stay, you know, rooted in my, you know, in my values and my voice and expression as a director?
Yeah, well, to me, it all starts with kindness, you know, to be true to myself. It's very simple. Don't be an asshole. Be kind, and be kind to people. They will immediately want to be around you. Easy. First step. Just be nice, right? Um, and the second one is be passionate, and let that passion be infectious to where it rubs off on those around you.
I love
So
that.
you're kind, people like you, and now you love your movie so much that everyone loves it, and they want to work hard to bring your vision to life, because now my vision is their vision too, and we could all bring it to life together. Whether it's the makeup artist, costume department, production design, sound. Sound is so important in this one. So me and the mixer always on the same page. Um, ADHD shit brain. I don't even know what point I was trying to
No,
make.
you're good. I do you what how do you handle, like, how do you handle when you get differences of opinion, and or, you know, or conflicting perspectives
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah,
may necessarily, that sometimes disrupt your vision, because that happens a lot as a director. People collaborate,
yeah.
and then they want to weigh in, but then, you know, and that's the other aspect, I guess, about filming, is that
Mm-hmm,
that passions run high because, you know,
mm-hmm.
or sorry, emotions run high because there is so much passion. So how do you, have you run into much of that? Have you run into, like, hey, you know,
Not
I don't
really.
agree, and this is why I think you should do this way, and how do you
Yeah.
handle those situations?
I'm lucky that I've never really been in a situation where I've disagreed so much with someone that it's a problem,
Mm,
because I'm very open to other people's ideas, and the people I surround myself with have good ideas.
mm-hmm,
And they are the masters of their craft. Um, I've had disagreements with DPs before,
mm-hmm,
um, but that to me is the easiest compromise to make. I think it's a matter of making a compromise.
mm-hmm.
Um, and like, you want it this way, I want it this way. Maybe we could find a way to blend your vision and mine. Um, Sometimes I just like fold when I'm just allow myself to trust that other person that they're right.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad I've made those decisions, because sometimes you got to let go a little and trust those around you.
Yeah.
Um, there was one huge disagreement on my feature that, like, there was nothing I could do. I was ruled out, you know.
Oh,
So I just did it. I'm unhappy with it, and whatever. You move on. But I hope to never have to be in a situation like that again.
can you do? I mean, do you mind talking about how you got ruled out? Because that sounds interesting to talk about. Because, like, as a director, for me, I personally, like, am very open to sort of collaboration, idea flow, and stuff. But
Yeah.
I'm very much a person that's like, look, once I make the call, it's the call, and I can't. It's not that I'd want to deviate away from people. It's more so that the second guessing doesn't help me put my best work forward. And if once I make a call and people start to sort of challenge it, my receptiveness is to say, well, did I miss something here? What did I do? Look, and sometimes that's healthy, but if I'm confident in it and I'm going for it and other people sort of challenge that, it forms 2 points of contention for me, which is, one is like, well, that's their perspective, and it's, at the end of the day, like, we're not making that perspective, we're making one vision of it.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean. And so what happened in that situation specifically, because
Well,
it's voted out? Yeah.
yeah. In that case, it was the producer's decision, and ultimately, in that rare situation, like, the producers decided this creative decision.
Mm.
Um, you don't. So that's never really happened to me before, because every other thing I've done, I've had more creative ownership of it.
Right, right.
So it's like you said, at that point, you're the stakeholder, you're financing the project. At that point, I'm comfortable saying, no, we're going to do it my way. thank you for your opinion. Like, especially if I feel very strongly in it,
Right.
you have to go with your gut.
Yeah.
You have to stick to your guns, stick to your vision. And if you feel so strongly against something,
Yeah.
sorry, like I appreciate your opinion, and I feel the same way about notes.
Mm-hmm.
When people
Mm-hmm.
give you notes on a project, um, if you feel so passionately against this one note, you have to search deep within yourself and see what is best for the story, what will serve the story.
Yeah.
And you have to put your foot down and you have to just go with your vision.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's a balance because you also should let yourself go a little bit and look at the focus group and see what's resonating with people, what's not resonating. If multiple people say this thing is not working, maybe you cut it. But what if you really love that thing that
Yeah.
multiple people are telling you to cut?
Right.
That happened to me once with the film. Multiple people told me to cut the thing that I loved so much,
And
and I kept it. I kept it, and I'm so happy I did.
great.
Because I still think it belongs there. Um,
It's like that
yeah,
Tarantino story though, right? With Harvey Weinstein, you know, independent of what happened to him afterwards, but like when he was making Reservoir Dogs, they wanted him to cut the torture scene, and Tarantino was like, "Well, no, I'm not going to cut it because
no,
that's the movie." And he's like, and what I thought was interesting is how he handled that, and that's why I wanted to ask you about it, because he basically said, "Well, you know, you may be right, but that's the movie, and it's staying in there, and that's the movie. I don't care, you know." And then
yeah,
Harvey kind of like took back, and then he was like, "All right, well, we're gonna keep it, and remember that it was Miramax that let you do it, right?" And like he sort of tried to take ownership of that again, the Harvey style, but I really admired that he was a new filmmaker making his first feature. He'd already written Natural Born Killers and stuff, but he stuck to his guns, and it's because he really believed that whether or not people liked it or not wasn't what was important, is that it served his vision of telling that story, and ultimately that scene is very powerful in that movie. It works. So I applaud you for sort of what you're saying, and it's something that I always am sort of working on looking at with other filmmakers and seeing their opinion. It's a really cool thing. Dude, so you also incorporated a lot of your Hispanic heritage in this movie, and you made it a point. Like, talk to me a little bit about that too, because you've made other features that I've read that are so deeply rooted in that culture.
yeah. I hit a certain point in my career where I wanted to tell more Cuban stories
Yeah.
because you don't see any of them.
Wow.
You just don't, and the ones you do see are like Father of the Bride. They're just the most cliche representation of Miami Cubans.
I
Um,
know the producer of that movie is a friend.
Sorry,
No, no,
I
it's that's why it's film. You know, it's subjective. Yeah, yeah,
no, that was like a personal blow to me because it's clear whoever made this film is not really Cuban and doesn't understand the nuances, and they're sort of pandering. There's a lot of pandering happening,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
uh,
yeah.
and that's happening with Cubans too. I'm yet to see something that is authentic and feels real, and it's starring Cubans, made by Cubans,
Mm-hmm,
written by Cubans,
mm-hmm.
and where people aren't like masquerading with cafecito and smoking cigars, uh,
Right.
and saying, "I want my Vicks vapor rub." Like, where Cubans are more than that. It's becoming like clownish.
Yeah.
There's so many stories, the rich history of Cuba, the revolutions, the the
Dichotomy. Yeah.
dichotomy, the
The
dichotomy.
dichotomy, man.
Bro,
Oye,
like the dichotomy from Miami, Florida, bro. What the fuck?
come
Like
on, man. Yeah, tú
dichotomy. I
sabes,
don't
tú
fucking
sabes.
know, bro. But like, like that's the thing. That's the thing. The thing is that way.
Claro, claro.
But it's like what it's what I'm talking. It's this. It's the Miami voice that you're familiar with. It's you know what Jersey Shore did for the Jersey Shore. It showed
Yeah.
it showed people the very specific type of people that live in the Jersey Shore. I
Yeah.
want a story to be made about Miami that showcases Miami, Florida, and all its hilarity, its quirk, its weirdness. It lives in another dimension.
It
Um,
is. It really
and,
is.
and so I started writing more Cuban stories. I made a short called Noche Buena about a dysfunctional Cuban Christmas Eve starring my family.
Yeah.
Um, and I've been trying to write more and more Cuban. But with Why Am I Like This, I didn't want to make it like just shoved down your throat that she's a Cuban. I didn't want to make it about Cuba and her being Cuban at all.
Right,
It just
right.
so happens that she is a Cuban character, and her mom is in the picture, and they speak Spanglish to each other, and she uses funny Cuban phrases. But at no point is the word Cuba even uttered in the movie.
Yeah,
It's we're not shouting it at people,
yeah,
and I think I'd like to see more stories like that, where Latinos aren't just like the immigrants that are trying to with their coyotes trying to cross the
right,
border.
right.
We've seen enough stories like that. We need to represent Latinos in the world because they're living in the world. They're everywhere.
Yeah,
They're a part of this world. Um, so those are the stories I'm trying to tell now. I'm trying to be less loud and over the top about it.
yeah,
There's an equal balance. Do it gracefully, do it tastefully, and don't pander to people because that doesn't
yeah,
feel real or authentic, and it immediately tunes people off. And you're seeing it now with pandering happening in film and TV, and
yeah.
these movies aren't doing well. People don't like them
No,
because they don't want,
well, it just seems like it's
it,
about checking the box,
it
and
doesn't feel real.
it doesn't feel, which is what I found. It's why I bring this up, because when I saw Why Am I Like This, I read the script, but it's so organically placed, and I even hate to use the word organically because that's what every studio is using now too. It's like we need to make it organically fit it, and it's like, yeah, but the minute that you are signaling it, it ceases to be organic. And what you did wasn't that. You basically were like, I am just telling a story of a person who just happens to be Latin. That's not the point of interest of the story. It's the story about ADHD, self-discovery, all of that. And it just happens to be in the backdrop that she's a Cuban character and has that heritage. And I thought that was what made it so beautifully real too, because it wasn't about that to me, but I was like, wow, it just gives me another layer. It gives me another point of culture and layers that I wasn't expecting in the movie that worked so well.
Yeah, to me, representation isn't about to me, representation is representing people in the way they actually exist in the world, which is just here, everywhere.
Yeah.
They don't have to be an immigrant. They don't have to be like the sad, poor Mexican mom. Um, just put them in the world. They're everywhere in all classes of life. They are successful as well. Um, yeah, those are my thoughts, and we could go into that, but that's another conversation, I think.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, what does Andy's career look like in 5 years? Like, what is your dream project? Like, is there something that you are working on that you want to turn out to light? Like, because Noche Buena, you started off as a short, but I read it as a feature.
Yeah, that was on its way to becoming my next feature, but that didn't work out. As
Yeah.
feature projects they could implode at any point because of financing and all the moving parts.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to sort of put that back in the drawer for now. The thing is, you should never fully give up on something. If it doesn't work out, just like put it on hold because maybe it wasn't ready to be made at that point.
Yeah, like shelve it. Yeah.
Yeah, shelve it. It's in your arsenal. But I did have to pivot, and right now I'm working on adapting Why Am I Like This into a TV series.
Great.
We're pitching it. We're using the short as a proof of concept for a series. We've got the series Bible. We have, because this is a much bigger project. There's so many episodic moments here.
Yeah.
Day in the life of Lenny. Now she has ADHD. She knows it. Now what? She has to find a therapist. She has to explore Adderall and see what that's like. She has to go to the DMV. She has to, she's got to pay for this parking and look at the sign. And that's a whole episode where she's looking at the sign, trying to decipher the complicated instructions on the sign in Los Angeles. Little moments, day in the life of an ADHD person. What's her family like? What's her mom like? Is her mom on the spectrum? Does her mom have autism? Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
These are all rich layers. So we're doing that now. But in addition to that, I have my feature that also simultaneously I'm trying to get made. You see, you should have multiple projects all moving at all times. Because you never know when one of them is going to hit. At that point, you're gambling. You're fishing. Cast a wide net. So I have my feature, King of Cuba, another Cuban story,
Yeah.
based on a book that I acquired the rights to.
Mm-hmm.
Check it out. It's called King of Cuba, written by Cristina Garcia. Incredible book.
Nice.
I read it. I fell in love with it. I reached out to the author, acquired the rights, wrote the feature version. She loved it, the author. She gave me her blessing, no notes, which was one of the greatest moments of my life.
It's so cool.
That kind of validation from an author that you love.
Yeah.
Who actually said, you took my story and made it better by making it your own.
Wow.
And again, back to like the ideas, right? Like adaptations, perfect example of how you take an existing work of art, you evolve, you expand on it, you make it your own until it no longer belongs to that fully to that person. It's a combination of yours, and it'll get adapted again, and it's just like cyclical. It was cool to do that with this book, to make it my own, to create new characters, to make the ending a little bit more juicy.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to make that right now.
That's fantastic, man. I mean, dude, obviously, I tell this to every guest. It's like we could spend hours talking about this stuff, and I will always invite you back to the podcast because we got so many layers to talk about and go through. But man, it's just a real pleasure to see you do your thing and like build upon all of this, and you do it with such like grace and gratitude and passion, and it's always cool just to see you work and get your stuff going. I want to try and share the trailer here for everybody watching. Unfortunately, if you're listening to the podcast, you won't be able to watch this. So go to YouTube and check it out. But I want to share the trailer with people because it's really a great movie, man. And I'm really excited for what you're going to accomplish with it. And I'm super stoked to see it. Let's share this trailer and let people check it out.
I have acknowledged your text, and I will get back to your text when I can. Text Beatrice back. B for bitch. Here I am, going to Beatrice's 30th birthday party. I'm still like this aimless toddler. I really need this job.
You don't belong here, I'm sorry.
Okay, then where do I belong? Use your blinker!
Get out of town, no, literally.
No, you get out of town, bro! Literally.
Elena. Lenny.
What the fuck? Like, oh, I'm gonna just take the edge off. People need to pull me off the edge. What am I gonna do if I don't have something in my hand? What do I do? I guess if I wear pants with pockets, like the pocket.
I'm sick of being the bearer of the family secret.
Niña!
This is water, by the way.
Thank you.
Oh wait. I was on. I that I was on mute. Sorry. So I have to repeat that statement. So that was the trailer was amazing. It feels like an Oscar-nominated feature. That was remarkably powerful. I've seen the film, and it's just this is amazing, man. So I'm just extremely proud of what you've accomplished, man, and what you're doing. It's really inspiring, and it's awesome to know that I'm going to be able to see a lot of this work come to fruition for you, man. This is great.
You know, it sounded better the first time when you said it when you were on mute, but but it's okay. But thank you, and it's out. It's going to be out in the world, and I'm happy that people are going to be able to watch it because we make these things so people could watch them and share them with the world. So this is the fun part. Now the fun begins.
Yeah. Well, Andy, dude, it has been an absolute freaking pleasure to have you here. We'll have you back. Obviously, we'll talk about way more stuff. Is there any links you want to shout out? Where can people find you, man? Where can people look you up? Where can they get more about Why Am I Like This?
Of course. I can't believe it's been an hour. That's insane. People can find me, check out my work on my website, andres-rovira.com, or find me on Instagram, andres.j.rovira. And I'm always sharing my work. I'm always keeping people abreast of what I'm doing. So that's where you could find me. And
it's going to be all in the description in this YouTube video or in the podcast notes, everyone. So feel free to tap those links and look up Andy's work. It's exceptional. And no, man, I as a friend and collaborator, it's awesome to know you, man, and to see all that. And honestly, thanks for bringing me on and letting me help you out with your journey on this one, man. I'm super stoked about how it's going to do. We'll have to have a follow-up podcast episode so you can tell everybody how it's doing. And yeah, I can't wait to see the final finished cut, man. So excited for you.
Thank you for the kind words, Rob Federick, everybody. Woo!
All right, guys. Well, that will do it for today's episode of Forge Your Creative Future. I am your host, Rob Federick. Andy Rovira, everyone, Andres, and yeah, have a good one, guys. We'll catch you guys next time. The Forge Your Creative Future podcast is recorded live on Twitch and produced by Rob Federick. If you'd like to know more about our podcast, feel free to subscribe wherever podcasts are supplied and or follow our YouTube page at youtube.com/@RobFederick. Thanks for watching.